What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Big Tuddies Fantasy Football Podcast, part of the Loose Cannons Network. I'm your boy, Sammer. We're without Latte today, but we still got Tony, the nerd of the show, and the brains behind the majority of everything we do on this show. So, Tony, it's week 4. We've gotten week 3 out of the way. Got some injuries to worry about. Got some notes and some news we got to kind of go through real quick here heading into Sunday. What should fantasy owners be most concerned about or no longer concerned about?
Well, first things first, it's only been 3 weeks, so don't panic. You know, there's some knee-jerk reactions that happen a lot of times around week 3 or 4. If you go back and look at the first 3-4 weeks of any season, you're going to see some surprising names at the top of lists. But you know, things are gonna wash out through the season, so don't panic on some of the guys that you might be holding on to. Some of the injury news, we're looking at, you know, Bryce Young. He had an ankle. He's set to play, which we'll talk about. We'll touch on a little bit of the ramifications of that. Last I saw, Saquon is in individual drills. So he is on the practice field, but it's still uncertain. May come down to game time. Eckler's back at limited practice. Saw him talking yesterday. Thinks that he's going to be able to go. So hopefully, I mean, that would definitely help out their offense. Looking at San Francisco, you got wide receivers banged up there. Ayuk is practicing. Debo is not. Debo's a tough dude, and we've seen this before where he will not practice all week and then come out and play and beast. So keep an eye on that one. That's something to monitor getting closer to Sunday. And we're still looking at just banged up receivers in Baltimore. Again, I'm not really a strong believer in Bateman or OBJ, so if they miss, it doesn't really matter much to me in fantasy. They're flex options at best. So as far as that goes, I mean, that's pretty much the big fantasy players of note. There's a couple other guys out there. Another thing of note, as we get into matchups, keep in mind we do have a London game this week. So there's going to be a 9:30 a.m. game on Sunday. Kind of same rules apply as a Thursday game. I would try and get those guys into your skill positions if possible. One of the main reasons for that is we do have a lot of players that are dealing with or coming back or just working with hammies right now. Hammies are one of those injuries that game time warm-ups can cause a flare-up of a hamstring and have a guy sit out. So it could be a last-minute thing. So just make sure you're prepared.
Good stuff. I feel like Bryce Young, kind of you let off with him. If you're starting Bryce Young, you've got a litany of problems on your fantasy football team, I feel like.
Well, yeah, but
he should be rostered.
I don't think anybody's starting him, but it does have
it does have the rest of the offense.
Affects the rest of the offense. Andy Dalton, although he's not a prolific quarterback, he does create fantasy opportunity. So I think a couple of those guys definitely get downgraded this week if Bryce Young's back. He's young, you know, he's still developing. He'll get there, but he's not producing for fantasy right now.
Do we have any Fantasy Tuddies mailbag questions? For you who don't know, you can go on Twitter or leave a comment on our YouTube channel, on our shows themselves. On Twitter, it's just under the hashtag Fantasy Tuddies mailbag. Ask us your lineup questions, what you got going on. If you got injury questions, things like that, we can handle them. Tony, I believe we have one question this week.
Yeah, we had one from a guy, Double J. He got a hold of Latte, and Latte couldn't be here today, so I'm gonna go ahead and take over. His question was, he's in a super flex league. They're starting three wide receivers in that league. They have a regular flex and a super flex. He feels like he needs help at running back. He's been offered James Cook or DeAndre Swift plus Drake London for his A.J. Brown. So looking at his roster, QBs, he's got Russell Wilson, Stafford, and Baker Mayfield. Oh, I thought that would put a smile on your face. For running backs, he's got Aaron Jones, Pacheco, Charbonnet. Wide receivers, he's sitting really good. He's got Justin Jefferson, A.J. Brown, Garrett Wilson, Tank Dell, and Pickens. And then he's got a couple of good tight ends. Looking at his roster, to answer his question, I would say if you could get James Cook and Drake London for A.J. Brown, I might take that trade. Drake London is just so hit or miss with Ritter. I mean, Ritter is not good.
Quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, Drake's capable of taking it to the house at any time. So the talent's there. If he was on a different team, I'd say absolutely. But honestly, if it were my team, I would be in a super flex league. I would be looking more towards trying to upgrade a quarterback. So, if it's possible, if you could get James Cook and a better quarterback for AJ and maybe say trade Russell or Stafford back to them, a 2-for-2 trade, that's what I'd be looking towards. I would definitely try and get a stud at quarterback in a super flex. I'd say either one of those three guys are okay for a number 2 in a super flex, but see what you can do, shop it out there. And yeah, good luck to you, man. Super flexes can be crazy. It can be a lot of fun, but it can be crazy.
That's a lot. Yeah, that's a lot. So we've gotten through the mailbag. We've gotten through injuries and notes. Week 4, we've got all these matchups we've got to run through, Tony. But we're going to focus on 4 right off the bat here, just to kind of give a deeper dive. One that's close to my heart, obviously, the Bucks are in New Orleans visiting the Saints. Who are the guys you're looking at here in this game on either side?
I mean, if you're in a pinch and you had to start Baker, I think he's going to have a lower ceiling this week, but he should be okay. I like. How do you feel? I'm going to ask you a few questions on this because you're the resident, Buccaneer fanatic, just eat, sleep, and breathe. How do you feel about the Mike Evans, Lattimore debacle? Mike's a dog, man. I know he doesn't shy from a fight. I know that he's great in a contested situation. What's that?
He's not fighting this week. He's had his mind about kind of focus this season, very business-like. Sure. I don't see him doing anything that could jeopardize the team, get him suspended, get him fined, because that looks badly for him at the end of the season when they go into negotiations, whether it's with the Bucs or with another team. But he's facing Lattimore, who has had him kind of go. Sometimes one guy wins, sometimes the other guy wins. So it's not a guaranteed he's going to absolutely eat. But he's also in an offense where they're scheming him open, and he's the first option. But if it was me, I would say, and I would think, and I'm leaning towards Chris Godwin having a breakout game, because he's been kind of discussed this week in Tampa as the missing guy, the odd man out. Where's Chris Godwin? And the offense has sort of been designed in a way where Mike is Baker's first read, and so often Mike is open, so he doesn't necessarily get to Chris Godwin. I see that kind of changing this week because of the focus of what they've already discussed from the offensive coordinator's commentary, but the fact that Mike probably will not be open as often when it's him versus Lattimore. Lattimore's a good corner, as much as I hate to say it.
He's been great this year, too.
Yeah. And he's been ridiculously good this year, most especially. So now you've got this matchup. So he's going to get open, he's not going to be open, but I see Chris Godwin being the guy that kind of ends up eating in this particular game. Something of note, he plays very, very well in New Orleans. Every time he goes up to New Orleans, he has a decent game, sometimes a very, very good game. So if I were to lean towards one of those two guys, I would lean towards Chris. But in my opinion, Mike is still a must start every single week because it's Mike Evans. And again, the offense is much different than the last 3-4 seasons, actually since he's ever been in the league, honestly. So I keep thinking of Chris Godwin. I'm like, this might be the game that Chris Godwin finally flashes and arrives in 2023.
Yeah, I'm willing to flex Godwin. Starting Evans. I think hold off on Kate Otten. If you got him at tight end, I think there's some better options this week. And I think everyone does have kind of a low ceiling this week in Tampa. Just looking at Vegas has 39.5 point total for an over under, and they've got New Orleans winning this -3.5. Now, also, you've got a lot of insight to Tampa. My research, I'm showing, Davis and Dean both got banged up last week. I showed Davis is limited and then got a full practice in yesterday. Dean and Vita Vea have not practiced for the last 2 days. Any word on that?
So Vita played last week. Carlton hasn't played since week 1. It's trending and looking like he will be available this week. I think they held him out last week on purpose to kind of, avoid the short week and just give him one extra half week to get ready. Jamel Dean looks like he's most likely not going to play. I would kind of lean towards Vita playing because he already played with the same injury last week, and I'm not sure if he re-aggravated it and it's just still something that's lingering. Okay. Devin White more than likely will be playing, even though he's also on that injury report. But that, again, makes the secondary kind of a point of emphasis if you're the New Orleans Saints offense, because now you've got Delaney back there, you've got McCollum, who's not great, but he's played better this season, and then you've got a guy who I think is a stud, Christian Izien, who's still the third nickel corner. He's leading the team in interceptions. He's got a pick in every game but one. So I would lean towards him being the guy that ends up making plays, especially if they're facing a Jameis Winston offense where he's going to give you chances, and this guy's a ball hawk. But there's nothing that tells me don't play Chris Olave. There's nothing that tells me don't play Rashid Shaheed if you have him, because they could, Jameis is different. Jameis is different than David Carr. David or Derek Carr? Yeah, Derek Carr, because he actually makes them more dynamic. He does throw the ball down the field. He's got more of a risk it, type of mentality, and he slings the ball. So against a depleted secondary, I could see that happening. But the problem might be a little bit more than that. Their offense is only 25th in points scored, and they've given up 11 sacks. They don't move the ball very well. They've scored 16, 20, and 17 points the last 3 weeks against teams that don't have good defenses, against teams that are pretty bad against the pass, honestly. And so, me personally, if I'm trying to look at it a little bit further out as a Bucs fan, I don't know if I want to start anybody on their offense going up against a team that's kind of trying to tell the world that we are not the defense that gave up all those yardage when we were just absolutely beaten because we played 81 snaps against the Eagles. So I feel like there's a chip on the shoulder there, and I'm not starting any Saints players, honestly, if I'm going against the Bucs defense this week. But it's more or less because of what they don't do well on offense as opposed to who they're facing, because they just don't move the ball.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see a new offense this week. There wasn't really a whole lot of sample size to go off of with Jameis last week, but Carr was playing like shit. I wouldn't start Jameis. I'm starting Olave. He's a stud. He's going to get his. And, Kamara's back this week. Tampa did give up 7 yards of carry last week to the Eagles. Kamara's fresh. He's coming off suspension, so it's not like he's coming off an injury. He's coming in with fresh legs, ready to rock and roll.
But he hasn't been allowed to practice. Keep that in mind. He hasn't been allowed to practice before this week. So there's going to be that rust factor, obviously, the timing factor with the run game. And they haven't run the ball well in general, regardless of who's there. Taysom Hill, I believe, has 91 of their, 300 yards total. So that's 1/3 of their output.
Taysom is a sneaky DFS play this week, I think.
Yeah, I mean, the Bucs have historically had problems getting him down. But he's also one of those guys, if he has a couple runs that don't work out, they just don't go back to him. So if you play him, you kind of get screwed. You don't. Maybe if you're in a pinch, you throw him in there. But if Vita Vea plays, I don't see them running the ball well, regardless of Kamara or Taysom Hill, honestly. But and maybe I'm just a Bucs fan.
It's such a foreshadow too. When you see Taysom, you know what's coming. So it kind of helps the defense in that regard. So hopefully this isn't a low-scoring game. I mean, that's kind of how it's projected. But I'm hoping we get a little bit more of a, at least a grudge match. I know you're waiting for one.
I think if there's a sneaky play here aside from Godwin, I have a feeling that Baker Mayfield may have himself a nice ball game going against a team that, again, they're not defensively, they're sixth in points allowed, but they're not overwhelming. They do get after the quarterback, but this feels a lot like the Minnesota game where the Bucs probably have an opportunity to kind of scheme their guys open and just out scheme the other team, especially on the back end. If they can keep Baker up, I think Godwin has a really nice day, and Mike Evans probably has a few, chunk plays, and I can see Baker Mayfield having. He's actually been the most consistent guy on offense this entire season for that team, which is saying a lot.
He's been great, and I'd really like to see Rashad get going, man. Come on, brother, just dig. If we can get that backfield going, it's just going to create even more havoc for the defenses. So, yeah.
I mean, they've given up 195 rushing yards. I mean, against, I guess you could say, pedestrian run games aside from the Tennessee Titans, but they only give up 104 to Henry at that point. So it all depends on how the game flows, too. It just all depends how the game flows with them. Yeah. But when their offense doesn't move the ball, it puts their defense in a pretty bad situation. Just kind of like what the Bucs defense did to the Bucs offense against the Eagles.
Yeah. All right.
That's a lot. Talk too much about that matchup. Let's go to the Raiders, the Vegas Raiders and the Los Angeles Chargers. This is kind of an old school matchup in my opinion.
Yeah, man.
Who are we looking at here as guys you should highlight and guys you should possibly stay away from on either side?
So, not going to talk about it too much, but I've got the Chargers on this one. Surprise, surprise. I think they're going to get their first win. Vegas got this 48.5. Chargers minus 5.5. They have just been the Chargers have been great on offense. They just can't assemble enough and hold off the other team enough. Similar to Minnesota, where they're out there, they're scoring, they're looking good on offense. They're just it's a battle of attrition, and they're not winning it. On the other side, Jimmy G. I think Jimmy G is actually going to be a good stream this week for anybody that's looking for a quarterback. I also think that Josh Jacobs finally gets going. I think this is a get-right game for him. So he's a start for me. Obviously, Devontae's in. And I think Jacoby Myers. I don't know if anybody's been paying attention, but he has quietly been an awesome fantasy option when he's playing this season. He missed one game, but other than that, he's highly involved. He's getting double-digit targets every week. And I think Devontae is going to pull a lot of the attention this week, and I think it's going to leave Jacoby for some work. So I think he's a good flex option. Other side of the ball, pretty much starting everybody, but if Josh Kelly's out there, I'm not starting him. If Eckler plays, I would start Eckler just because of how he's used. I think he's too much of a Swiss Army knife for the Chargers to not start him, even though he's coming back from injury. And he's a strong dude. I mean, he comes back from injury and plays really well on the regular. The other one that I would kind of pump the brakes on, there's been a lot of talk this week about Quentin Johnston taking over now that Mike Williams is gone. Mike Williams is leaving 8 to 9 targets a game on the board, and it's got to go somewhere. I think Josh Palmer is going to see a little bit of the benefit of that. He would be a good flex this week for me. Quentin,
is there going to be a dip? Is there going to be a dip for Herbert now that Mike Williams is out in terms of his production, his ability to spread the ball around, or it's not really going to make much of a difference?
It's kind of to be determined. I mean, Moore's doing a great job there. But I think we're looking at, Quentin Johnston fits that profile of Mike Williams. He's the big body guy. He played really well in college, but they've talked about bringing him along slow. I think learning the playbook, where to be, when to be type of thing has been the difficulty for him. So that's why we haven't seen a whole lot of him. They've been trying to groom him in slowly. That's all out the window now. They've got to get him in there, and he's got to work. So I'm not exactly sure if he's going to be put in there as a downfield threat or if he's going to be in the slot. I don't really know how they're going to use him. One thing I know is Keenan is going to continue to wreck shop. I mean, if you have Keenan Allen, he might be winning some weeks.
I mean, the reason I was asking that is that without Mike Williams opposite of Keenan, does that affect how much coverage now they can just kind of dedicate to Keenan and kind of just say, hey, we're going to take away your guy, find someone else? And if that affects Herbert, if that affects, obviously, Keenan Allen, like how that all ends up happening, how it gets worked out when you take a guy out. It's like taking Mike Evans off the field or taking Chris Godwin off the field. Now it's like, well, we could just focus on Mike Evans as an example, right? So It does affect things. So I'm concerned because I have Herbert. So I need to know, I feel like he's a must start every single week.
Yeah,
but now I've also seen him have games where if he has only one or two options and they're taken away, he kind of struggles. So that's kind of my concern. And again, we don't know what this other rookie can do yet. We haven't seen him do it. So we don't know if it translates from practice to the field. And I'm with you. I'm like, you're going to have to prove it before I just throw you in my lineup, unless I absolutely have no choice at that point.
Yeah, I think Herbert's fine, but yeah, I wouldn't go throwing Quentin in your lineup yet. But there's a different coordinator there now. I think Herbert's gonna still continue to give you those 2 touchdowns, 300 yards a game. That's probably what we're looking at here. Pretty high scoring game looks like. So I would go with it. I think Herbert's just fine. He is a must start, every week until further notice,
Hell yeah. Winning again.
Hell yeah.
Defeated, no problem.
And also keep an eye on, Donald Parham. Everett was supposed to be the guy. Parham has been targeted in the red zone quite a bit. Might be a sneaky start at tight end if you're hurting.
Next matchup. Probably the most lopsided.
Oh, boy.
I believe it's a 14-point advantage there for the 49ers.
Last I saw,
against the Arizona Cardinals. I mean, that's two tutties, man. I don't think I remember ever seeing that, but I feel like it's start everybody who plays for the 49ers in this one and just don't start anybody who plays for the Cardinals.
You gotta start James Conner. James Conner has shown that just with the workload that he gets, and he's a great running back, man. He has been since he played for Pittsburgh. James Conner's just a good workhorse. He's going to get numbers. They're going to funnel the entire offense through him. That said, if I could play devil's advocate a little bit, I mean, yeah, last week Dallas lost Diggs midweek. Probably threw a little wrench in their game plan, and they definitely looked not themselves on defense against Arizona. San Francisco is a perennial defense that has been really good, but somehow they're getting it done, man. I mean, James Conner ran 7 yards a clip against the Cowboys. You don't think?
It's not. No. This is not. This is the Niners defense. Okay, this is a team that they try to kill you when they tackle you. Not to say that the Cowboys weren't doing that, but the Cowboys were kind of thrown off a little bit when they lost Diggs. The chemistry in the back end kind of got messed up, and I just feel like this is the Niners saying, one, we're not going to let you embarrass us like you just did to the Cowboys, and two, the Cardinals coming right back down to earth. General manager and owner all came down, I guarantee it, during team meetings, said, hey, coach, listen, I don't know what you're telling these guys, what you're feeding these. We need to lose games. All right, we need to lose games. We need Caleb Williams. You can cut this out. I mean, you guys can compete and all for like a quarter, but after that, cut it out, shut it down. Don't feed these guys anything. What do you do? Like, get rid of the Gatorade, whatever it is. Don't do it. We don't want to win any more games. I don't see the Cardinals doing anything in this
It's been
game.
Fun to watch, but yeah, I've got San Francisco in this. I just had to fuck around a little bit, but yeah.
Keep in mind too, Mike McDaniels came from Shanahan's tree, and Shanahan just watched one of his disciples drop a 70 burger on a team that should never have allowed it, obviously, but. Maybe Shanahan's like, all right, I see the pupil. Let's see what the teacher can do. Let me show you. I could drop a 70 burger because this is if anyone's dropping 70. If anyone's dropping 70 this week, I would put my money on the Niners doing it and not the Dolphins again.
I think you can start Brock Purdy. You're still going to get your weekly 2 touchdowns out of him. But
90% completion rate somehow too.
Yeah. Kid's balling. Everybody that picked him up, like just punted quarterback to the end of the draft for fantasy, they are reaping the benefits now. The only problem this week is, like I said, Debo might not play. Brandon is coming back from like a collarbone, both shoulder type of thing. So he's been practicing, assuming he's going to be good by Sunday. They tend to, whoever, if one is out, the other one tends to ball. So, hopefully we have one of the two guys. You're obviously starting C-Mac, either one of the receivers if they play. George Kittle, great play. And we're looking at 44 points projected in this game, and obviously a 2-touchdown lead for San Francisco going into this. It's going to end up on the San Francisco side of the ball. Hell yeah. Yeah, this is going to be just a stomping, I believe.
Yeah, I agree. Now, the next game, Dolphins-Bills.
Dolphins I almost wanted to talk about this last.
Dolphins coming off the 70 burger. This seems like the matchup of the week. I mean, I feel like this is going to be one of those this is going to be one of those games we look back at, like kind of when we was it Goff versus Mahomes a few years ago, where it was just this unbelievable game. Two offenses that could score points at will. Will the defense step up? I mean, the Bills definitely aren't going to be like, hey, we're not going to let you score 70 this week, obviously. So this is a heavy one. Curious what you think on this. I don't even know who wins, but who to play and who not to play, or if that even exists, honestly.
Start everybody. I mean, honestly, the only person that I might pull back on a little bit is the tight end for the Dolphins, Smythe. Buffalo's a tough defense. He may end up seeing some, just quick slants or something to kind of dig Tua out, but the Dolphins O-line has been playing great. It's going to be fun to watch the trenches in this game. I mean, this whole game, I just cannot wait for. Josh Allen didn't play great last week, but they're getting it done. He's starting to come back to himself. James Cook is
the guy.
Just the guy there. I mean, he's been leading the team in everything. He's their
Dalvin Cook, Tony. He's become their Dalvin Cook.
Yeah, you can flex Davis. Kincaid, I think, is going to get some work here. It's just this is going to be a great game. I think I misspoke last week when I said that the Dolphins are reminding me of the Chip Kelly offense, because I think there's a difference here. I think the Dolphins are speed, whereas Chip Kelly was tempo, if that makes sense. Chip Kelly was more about having these guys conditioned to get to the line, snap the ball, plays over, get to the line, snap the ball, and it was just like trying to catch you off guard and just keep coming, just being in your face the whole time. Whereas McDaniel is not necessarily doing that. It's just their team is so fast. Yeah. You're getting gassed by trying to keep up with them, and he
creates dynamic matchups with his motion, his eye candy. I mean, that stuff, it looks like he's running Arena Football League type shit. And
what I love phenomenal. Is that, you look at Tyreek Hill, you look at Waddle, you would expect them to just use like that to be their main weapon. And instead, he's decided to kind of take this art of war approach and sharpen the blade of the backfield and trying to make that something like we saw it last week. They were without Waddle, so he goes to the backfield and they put up a 70 burger, like you said. And he's so creative with that. Also, like you said, he's creating this space for they're not running these draw plays. They're not running, power plays up the gut. It's these plays where he's allowing his fast guys to be able to gain momentum before contact or before even in coming close to contact.
But not just on passing plays. If you watch them and you watch the 49ers, there are two teams in the league that run eye candy on run plays, and the eye candy changes every single time, and it changes how the blocking scheme works, and they have wide receivers that get their nose dirty and they create these massive running lanes. And it doesn't matter who's their offensive line, it seems like in San Francisco, in Miami now, but go watch the film on there. They are creating massive running lanes because you're so afraid of what that eye candy is that it also becomes candy for creating opportunities in the run game. And it's so fun to watch, and it's so like AQ Shipley on the Pat McAfee show on Tuesdays will break down, in the trenches. It's a segment they do, and he breaks down the Niners and the Dolphins almost every time because they do such creative and stuff that's outside the box, stuff that 10 years ago you would have never seen.
Yeah.
And it's wide receivers and fullbacks and tight ends, and all these guys are moving around, and they're all creating space and blocking. It's unbelievable.
I don't know if he broke down that play, but I watched somebody else, I think it was on Instagram, broke down a play where, was it Mostert was all the way out wide left, almost to the sideline. They've got the fullback lined up to the left of Tua, and pre-snap he calls Mostert into motion. He runs around, snap the ball, fullback comes around behind Tua and is the lead blocker, and it's just creating that dynamic from east to west. He's doing such a great job, and I'm loving everything he's doing. I mean, I hate to keep pulling on his meat, but I love what he's doing with the team, how he's going about scheming against different defenses. I love his banter and his interaction. Like, I used to love Bill. Yeah. Bill Belichick I love because we get tired of the same old dribble every week.
Yeah.
Somebody walks up,
Coach,
hey, you scored that last 2-minute drill and won the game. How do you feel about winning the game? Like, nobody wants to hear that. And he just gives them a bunch of crap, gives them the runaround. He tells jokes. He's like, I just love everything Mike McDaniel's doing.
What's so cool about his play design is that it's not just creating blocking lanes, it's literally creating funnels of space, which is just unbelievable to watch. And the only other person that's doing it is Shanahan in San Francisco. But McDaniels is taking it to like a different level. It's like we're watching something very historic happening, and people don't quite realize it with how he's calling plays and using his guys in motion and creating momentum before they're being touched. Like, it's one thing to try to get Tyreek Evans off the line, right? But now if you got Tyreek Evans running full speed from 10 yards behind the line, you have no chance. You have no chance at touching him. It's like impossible. And he's doing it with every one of his guys. And
that's what I was going to say. He's making such a weapon out of everybody.
Everyone.
And then you start to try and deal with anybody else, and then there's Tyreek Hill. Like, if you focus on anything but Tyreek, he's going to get behind you, and he's taking it home. So they are so dangerous right now. If they win this game, they're putting the whole AFC on notice. Like
it's not that difficult for them to play defense with that offense like that either. But I was going to say that motion that they create for their weapons down the field starts to affect the secondary, and then they start to kind of creep back. The linebackers start to creep back because, like, okay, this guy's coming at me with a full head of steam. I got to get ready now. And next thing you know, those motions are now being used as actual blocking. So now they're down the field. They're already late to the party in the run game, and now it's even more of a mismatch. And that's why you got a guy like the running back over 100 or running back over 200. I mean, that's ridiculous. You can't rush for 300 yards in a game and also score 70 points. Like, what?
And you did it without Waddle. That's the crazy thing to me is, like, they get Waddle back this week for this game. Like, why is this a 1:00 game? Like, didn't the NFL come out and say that they were letting everyone know the whole schedule was flexible this year, and then we got to watch the Jets Sunday night get stomped instead of watching this? Come on.
Worse is if you're in the Tampa area, you don't even get this game on CBS. You got to watch some Ravens-Browns nonsense, I believe. So, and it's like we're that only section in all of Florida that's getting screwed on that for some reason.
YouTube Sunday Ticket's doing pretty big things this year.
I know. I'm just never home enough to do that, right? I'm just never.
Oh, you don't have it?
I don't have it because I'm never home to use it, and I have Red Zone.
It's YouTube, baby. Get on your phone.
I get all that. I'm just saying I'm never home to utilize it because I'm usually at an away game or at someone else's house. So,
it is pretty pricey if you're not going to be home to be able to enjoy.
I should have just done it when it was like $1,400 off for the first deal. It's like, $200 off or $150 off, whatever. I should have done it back then, but.
All right, so getting to that London game, we got Atlanta at Jacksonville. I got Jacksonville in this one. I think Jacksonville is going to somewhat turn it around. It's been a little rough to watch here lately. 43 over under. Jacksonville is favored -3. Atlanta side of the ball, starting Bijan. Bijan should have a hell of a game here. And other than that, I mean, if you got to flex Drake, London, go for it. But I'm staying away from everything else. On the other side of the ball, T-Law, maybe. He hasn't really. He's been having some rough games. The line's been giving him some trouble. I would start ETN. He's been great. Ridley, I think, is a good play, and I think Evan Ingram could be a great play this week. I've actually got him as my start of the week at tight end. He's sneaky been top tight end this year. He hasn't scored yet, so I think if he gets a touchdown or two in the next few weeks, we're gonna start seeing his name a little bit more. But he's worth a start.
Listen, you need to put some respect on Jacksonville's name because Jacksonville's second home is across the pond in London, okay? And that's where they play their best ball. I am absolutely playing Lawrence in this game because he is coming out of the shell. He's going to destroy this Falcons defense who may not be that bad, but their offense is so inconsistent that the Jags are going to have so many opportunities in this game. It's going to be one of those types of, it's going to be the defense falling apart eventually, getting beaten down. And listen, you say Bijan is a must start. He stunk up the joint last week, so be careful here.
Well,
He's going across the pond, a little difficult.
If you want to play the Duval London play there, it's that's one of the only games that we ever seen Kyle Pitts ball out. So that could happen. I'm not forecasting it, but yeah.
No, I'm just listen. That's their home away from home. They know how to play across the pond. They just do. And so Bijan and the Falcons, they got to get acclimated. Where the Jaguars are like, we live here. This is no big deal.
I hear the Jags get the treatment over there too because of the owners.
Yeah,
like they're staying 5-star,
Yeah, they all got masseuses in their rooms. They got baby oil everywhere.
They're gonna be ready. Masseuses now.
Listen, from a sports perspective, of course, they're gonna be ready, man. They're gonna be ready. And Bijan, I don't even know if Bijan's been across overseas before. Like this is an acclimation for those Falcons guys. The Jaguars, again, I'm hammering it down. This is their home away from home. Next matchup, Tony, Rams. Colts. This kind of feels like a terrible thing to watch, but there's going to be some fun had here. Curious who you're leaning towards on this one and who you're starting there.
This is a good week for pick'ems. There is a couple games this week that I feel like could be a snooze fest. We're hoping for the best. Rams are at Indianapolis. Pretty decent projected point total. They're at 46. Rams -1. In this game, if you got Stafford, I'd be trying to stream somebody else this week. Indy's defense has been playing great, better than everyone expected. About the only way I'd look, Nakua, seems like probably the best possession guy on the team. I'm sitting 2-2 this week. I mean, I know he's a burner, but I just don't know how much time Stafford's going to have. He's already been struggling to get enough time for a play to develop. Indy side of the ball, Richardson's trending in, and again, we talked about this earlier. He's coming back from a concussion. These things, they don't really hinder your physical ability when you come back. So he's coming back just as strong as he was before. He was ramping up to show us that, he wants to break out this year. I think the Rams, they've got a good enough defense to kind of get him out of the pocket and force him to be mobile. So, start Anthony Richardson. I know we haven't had a great sample size, but I really believe in the kid. Starting Zach Moss, Michael Pittman can be started. And also just somebody to keep an eye on, Josh Downs. Kid's been playing great. He hasn't really splashed a whole lot, so people aren't paying a whole lot of attention to him. But something to keep an eye on. I mean, if he has another great week this week, I'm putting him in the roster. He'll be starting from here on out. So Indy's something to watch, man. They're doing things. They're doing things.
Yeah, I'm picking Rams to win this game.
Are you?
Yeah.
I got Indy in this one. I'm going to go against Vegas. I think they pull it off.
I think the Rams just have a bit a bit too much for the Colts defense to kind of curtail. Speaking of defense, we move on to the next matchup of a franchise battling its old self, but also battling its future self. Weird. Ravens Browns. This is going to be a fun one, in my opinion. And you got the Browns' unbelievable defense going against the Ravens, and obviously Lamar Jackson, who's just a freak talent. So curious who you are taking in this one.
I'm taking Cleveland. You know, they have put it on some of the best teams so far this year. Defense has just looked unstoppable. Newsom got hurt last week. I'm not sure the news on him. I haven't gotten anything recently, but I haven't heard anything that he's not going to play. Either way, Myles Garrett has been causing some trouble. So that said, I mean, I'm still starting Lamar. Again, you know, this is a quarterback that he gets forced out of the pocket. He can make some things happen with his wheels. And he's been playing better. I'm sitting Gus. You know, the backfield, go ahead and sit him down this week. I'm not starting the backfield against Cleveland. I would even though I've been praising the kid week after week, I'd sit Zay Flowers this week. I really don't think Lamar is going to have a whole lot of time. And Zay Flowers just isn't a big guy. You know, I think the physical ability of the Cleveland defense is going to get the better of him this week. You know, that said, a big old dude, Mr. Mandrews, is an every week starter. You know, he's got to be started, especially with the tight end market kind of turning sour real quick. You know, if you get four top guys, then it just drops off a cliff. So I'm starting Andrews. Other side of the ball, Watson, if you have to, if your morals will allow it. Jerome Ford, I would start this week. We're looking at Amari Cooper is a great play. And you could probably flex Elijah Moore. I'm not starting Njoku or Njoku until we see something out of them. They've got Cleveland projected to win this game, -3. I honestly think Cleveland's going to score a bit more than that. So the spread might be a little bit bigger. I think this is going to be another win by Cleveland. Somehow Pittsburgh's sitting at the top of our division, but man, Cleveland is just knocking at our door.
I'm definitely hammering the Browns. This is gonna be one of those ugly games out of Lamar Jackson. I know some people consider him to be you got to play him every single week, but man, this is gonna look like what he looks like in some of those playoff losses where he just can't figure it out, can't get around the defense because they're so physical and stout, and he'll just kind of start looking down at the rush and he'll just kind of just forget about throwing the ball. So I don't. And that's not a knock on him. I'm not saying he's not a good quarterback. It's just this is the Browns defense that's going to absolutely destroy this team. You didn't mention to start the Browns defense, by the way, because I think they're going to cause multiple turnovers. This could be like a 25-35 type of they could put up 30 points, man, honestly, I think, in this game as a defense. So that's a must play. Next game is the Vikings and the Panthers. Two very different teams. One team, I believe, hasn't won a single game yet in the Vikings, and this looks like
trying.
They feel like they're trying to lose the games, actually. So I don't know. Curious what your take is on this one, Tone.
I'm gonna take Minnesota in this one. 46.5 over under on this one. Minnesota -4.5. I think they finally get it done. It's going to be easy against Carolina to move the ball around. Starting Cousins, of course. I mean, fantasy, he's been great, even though they can't win a game. JJ, Madison, he woke up last week. He's running 4.7 a clip. I'd start him. I mean, a lot of people have the capital in him. He has the ability against Carolina. They're not going to stop the run. So starting him. Hawkinson, of course, has been one of the best tight ends in the year. And then if you wanted to flex Addison's been getting some looks. This could be that game that he's able to stretch the field and get to the paint. Other side of the ball, like I said, Bryce Young coming back kind of downgrades everybody. You're not starting Young. Miles Sanders, no. He's dealing with a groin. If you have to, Yeah, but I don't feel good about it. I especially with groins. Groins and hammies, they pop up on you at any time, and I'm not a real big Miles Sanders fan. I know he's been able to put up some fantasy points, a few years, but yeah, he's not really my favorite. Thielen, flex him. DJ Chark's out without Dalton, and Hunter Henry again. If you're kind of in that flea market of tight ends, you can start him. That's about it. That's probably
hard to play anybody on that Panthers offense when Bryce plays, because he makes it one dimensional because he can't pass the ball. He can't throw the ball. He's not pushing it down the field, whether that's by design or he doesn't want to or he's not comfortable doing it yet. But Miles Sanders basically faces a stacked box every single time, groin or not. I don't see how you're playing him. Thielen might be sneaky only because it's his former team and he might want to kind of show out a little bit, but that also still requires the entire other half of that equation, which is a quarterback who's going to throw the ball to you, and it's not Andy Dalton. So I'm with you, man. Vikings finally get off the schneid, destroy the Panthers, who might not have a bad defense, but it's almost impossible to win if your team doesn't move the ball on the other side. So
Vikings better get with it, man, because otherwise Detroit's just gonna rip that division down.
They're not winning the division. They're not making the playoffs. It's so freaking slim when you are 0-3 or 0-2, let alone 0-3. So it's basically game over at this point. It might behoove them to just lose out, but
I was going to say 0-4. I think statistically, there's only been one team in history that's ever made the playoffs. So yeah. It's a rough start, and it's a shame because they've got so many weapons.
It's not the worst thing though, because they got to get rid of Kirk at the end of the season. Like, everyone kind of knows that this is it. So it might make sense to just lose as many games as possible, because then maybe you get the quarterback and now you got all the guys around him. You got him on a rookie deal. If he's a guy who can sling it and can learn quickly, you might have a good recipe there. You might have
if they were able to get a first-round quarterback, holy shit.
On the rookie deal too. And that's kind of that window of opportunity that teams like. Stack the team, get that rookie quarterback. Like, very similar to what you got in Cincinnati. They have a lot of similar players. They have a lot of similar offensive scheme. Hey, if I'm the Vikings, I lose this week, I shut it down, dude.
I feel like that's the winning formula for teams in the big show. A lot of times your Super Bowl winners are the guys that have two players. One is on a rookie deal, and one is willing to take a pay cut or, backload their contract or something so they can put some talent around them. And that's normally the formula. You don't normally see a whole lot outside of that. You got to have somebody willing to sacrifice. I mean, look at what Brady did for years. Brady was willing to restructure, and it worked wonders for him. So you got to have that. You got to have somebody on that rookie contract that you're not paying an arm and a leg, so you can beef up your line or you can add to your secondary. It's got to have defense to win games. So yeah,
it's got to be your quarterback. Otherwise, and you see it. The Seahawks, when they gave all that money to Russ, didn't make it back to the Super Bowl. Patrick Mahomes seems to be the exception, but he's got Andy Reid, and he's got a team that's just really, really good at balancing that checkbook at the front office. But I agree with you, man. If you can get your quarterback on a rookie deal and get him to the Super Bowl in that window, you've got it made. Because after you pay him, it's awful difficult to pay all the other guys and keep all these guys around him. So the Viking, I'm telling you, man, you lose this game, you trade Kirk Cousins, you figure everything. You just
right. You go out and trade them now.
Pack it in. It makes no sense to win after that. There's no point for them to win at all. I don't care how competitive they want. JJ is.
I mean, Hawkinson's playing his ass off. You got JJ's arguably the most talented receiver in the league. Oh man, I'm sure it would hurt for those guys to just have to take a seat and be like, all right, we're just going to go out and go through the motions this year. But it could pay off dividends if that's the case.
But Tony, listen, you got a guy in Kirk Cousins who's extremely good at putting up numbers and still losing games. Like, he might be the perfect quarterback for this formula here, which is to go out, make sure all these other fantasy guys make their dough, and then just make sure we lose at the end of the day so we can get rid of you. And
they're doing a great job of it right now.
I'm saying he's killing it right now. This might be
you're starting
the assignment. We just don't know.
Yeah, right.
We just don't know.
All the fantasy owners out there, thank you.
Absolutely. Speaking of Joe Burrow, Next matchup is the Bengals Titans. Not sure who's favored in this one. I think you have it in front of you, but this will be. I don't know. I don't know what to think about this one, Tone.
I don't know if Tennessee is going to be favored in any matchup this year. Man, they really, really poor play, which is crazy to me because I feel like they've got a great coach.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're looking at 40.5 over under on this game. Cincinnati minus 2.5. Cincinnati's, having a hard time getting the rhythm. Everyone wants to say it's Joe Burrow's calf. I'm seeing a little more than that. I'm definitely seeing Joe's hindered, and yeah, it might affect his ability to get some mustard on the ball. But I'm also seeing some mistakes here and there. Hopefully they could, they got Jamar Chase back on the board last week. I don't see that going away. I told you guys he was going to be fine. He's going to continue to put up numbers. They just got to get the rest of the guys clicking. Higgins fell off the map. Where's he at? Mixon's been, toting the rock and doing the job, but the rest of it's just not coming together. Is kind of making it harder for Mixon to find space. But yeah, I mean, I've got Cincinnati. I'm starting everybody. I mean, it's a tough game for Mixon. Tennessee's got a great rush defense, but Mixon's he's just a workhorse. He's out there. He's got the opportunity. So start him. Starting Chase, starting Higgins. The other side of the ball, no. Maybe flex Hopkins, but Tannehill has looked like a total garbage truck, man. What? You're
not playing
Tannehill
Henry?
used to be.
Not playing Henry?
Well, I want to discuss Henry also because we're seeing this odd decline, and we're seeing his snap counts go down by week. He's been receiving less and less work. His performance has declined. We're not seeing the same old just this wrecking ball.
That's why you don't.
Is this a year that Henry falls off?
I think so, man. I mean, we saw AP go through it, so I think so, man. And he takes a lot of hits compared to other running backs because he's laying a lot of blows on top of that too, and he's kind of been that like monster going through all these physical runs and blows, and eventually it's going to wear down. I feel like it's finally kind of taken its. He doesn't seem to be forcing as much impact when he hits these guys. It's the other way around now. So
yeah, I mean, he is a unit, but that's kind of what you see with this archetype, right? These big bruiser guys, they tend to just fall off. It's not a gradual decline. Some of these guys that you see that like McCaffrey, he's going to lean on pass catching. They're not going to bang him up as much, especially if you're planning on using the guy 20, 30 carries a week. You can kind of alleviate some of that contact by swinging them out. But, yeah, I don't know what's going on. I mean, Tajay Spears hasn't really performed well in his opportunity, but if you've got a burner spot on your bench, he might be worth a stash just to see what happens. But until Tannehill starts to look like any type of a quarterback, I don't think Tennessee's offense is going to be good for fantasy, which is weird because Tannehill was oddly a quiet, great top 10 quarterback for years. Like I used to stream Tannehill all the time, but he looks like a middle school quarterback.
They're not doing much of anything well. They're not running the ball well, and that kind of takes away all that they like to do, and they're just not set up. They have a good head coach, but I think that head coach needs to make a few heads roll on his staff, or he's going to be the guy that's going to get fired here in this season. So,
yep.
I'm with you, taking the Bengals in this one. Next one, actually, the next few of these, let's just kind of like bang them out and just kind of go quick hit on these. Bucks, Saints. I believe the Saints are favored in this one by 3 or 2.5. Last I looked,
3.5.
3.5. No. I'm a Bucks fan, but even if I wasn't, I'm going with the Bucks on this one. Obviously, we discussed who to start and who to not to start in this game already, but I'm assuming you're with me on that, Tony. Bucks are just have a little bit more than the Saints do. Curious what you think on that.
I'm going New Orleans. I think they're squeaking by this week. I'm sorry, man.
What a hater.
I love the Bucks too, man, but I think they squeak it out.
Obviously you don't.
I try and call it how it is for fantasy. I want the Bucks to win.
They have more weapons than a team that can't move the ball. That's why, like, it might be an ugly game, but I just don't see how the Saints can overcome. And especially now that Carlton Davis is going to be playing, and Vita Vea looks like he's on track to play again. Devin White looks like he's good. Jamel Dean's really going to be the main guy. Him and Kalijah Kancey, the rookie who hasn't even played but more than 11 snaps in the first game of the season. So they seem to be getting enough guys back to where it'll matter, and Olave is not going to have just free reign back there. So I'm going. I hope Bucks. So. Yeah, you're going Saints.
It really matters what Jameis we get.
There's only one, man. There's only one.
His instinct's always in there, but sometimes if there's not enough pressure, that horrible, just ingrained whatever that is that he has, where he just likes to just throw the ball up to whoever when he gets in trouble.
Well, most quarterbacks struggle when there's pressure in their face up the middle. The Saints have not been very good at protecting their quarterback up the middle, and now you got a guy like Vita Vea coming in here, and he's going to basically force the issue there. Todd Bowles loves to blitz up the middle with Devin and with Levante David, so the opportunity is there to make him feel the pressure and then start to kind of play hero ball, and that's when,
come on, Vita.
That's when he starts to throw those Christmas gifts around. So I see that happening, and then I see the Bucks pulling off a win there.
Hey, man. You had the premonition last week, so maybe I should change my pick here.
I did. I called that 17 comeback.
That was awesome, bro. I was loving watching it. Like, everyone was talking shit until it started looking like it, and then crickets.
Yeah, nothing. Nothing. Next matchup, Dolphins-Bills. We touched on this one earlier. I am going Dolphins on the road. I believe they're in Buffalo, right?
Yeah.
I'm going Dolphins.
I'm taking Dolphins too, man. I'm loving watching them play. I think they're too gadgety right now. The weapons are crazy. They're so fast. Man, I cannot wait for that
defense.
Dude.
Running game and defense travels well. That's going to be a fun one. That's why I think they're going to win. Honestly, it's going to come down to the fact that they can run the ball. And the Bills probably can't and won't be able to afford to when they are down 50-20. No, it probably won't happen like that again.
I'm gonna have myself set up, and I'm gonna have to go back and rewatch a lot of 1:00 games because that's gonna be full screen. I'm watching that whole game. I'm stoked.
Fun. That was gonna be dope. Next one, Broncos Bears. Obviously, I'm going Broncos. Those guys have pride. They will respond. It won't be a great game for either team, but they'll somehow win 13-3.
Yeah. We've got. We've got 46.5 for Vegas, -3 Denver. I'm taking the under on this one. That said, I got Denver also. I hope they have some pride and they're not too embarrassed to come out and actually play this week. You can start Russell. Chicago's been really porous on defense, so I think Russell's actually been putting up some decent fantasy numbers, even though the team looks like crap. So start Russell. Javonte Williams, I think, is startable this week. I've actually got him as my start of the week. I think he finally gets on track this week. He's still working his way back from the injury. They've got a great opportunity this week against Chicago. He's catching passes. He's highly involved. So Javonte hopefully is going to start to look like what we expect this week. You can start Judy, Sutton flex if you have to, and keep an eye on Marvin Mims. Have you been watching him at all?
Yes.
This kid has been great, and that's within this offense.
Yeah, I think we've highlighted him a couple times, and I think he had that. I think he had their only touchdown in that game against the Dolphins, didn't he? With the punt return, I believe that was Mims.
Oh yeah. I
thought that was a punt return.
I can't remember exactly.
I thought that was a punt return by him against the Dolphins. I think that was the only score that they had in the second half, possibly.
He's not getting a whole lot of looks, but I mean his yards per catch is crazy right now. So, that said, other side of the ball. I don't want to, but if you have to, start Fields.
No, you're full of shit. All right, next game. Commanders.
What?
Eagles.
Look at
No.
what happened to Denver last week.
No, not happening, dude. That guy. No, that's because the other team has a good coach. Commanders, Eagles. I'm hammering down on the Eagles here. Obviously, they're probably favored by 2,000 points. Who knows? Especially if that Commanders quarterback decides to throw 4 picks again. So,
Yeah, this is gonna be a slaughter.
Start everybody.
It's at Philly too. Yeah, I'm starting everybody. I even think Gainwell's worth a flex. I think we might see Gainwell get a little more involved this week. But yeah, everybody on the Eagles side, nobody on Washington. Smash Eagles.
Steelers, Texans.
Eagles are actually projected by 9 in that one.
Yeah,
it's pretty high.
Probably go up before the game. Steelers, Texans. I'm going. Sorry, Tone. I'm going Texans here. I like whatever they're serving up, man. I'm eating it up. Those guys are playing good defense. They drafted well, and it looks like they've got probably 1B or maybe 1A in terms of the rookie quarterbacks between him and Richardson. I only give him a slight edge because Richardson hasn't played as many games because of the injury. So I'm in, dude. I like what the Texans are doing, and I'm definitely going with them in terms of winning this game. I'll leave it up to you for the fantasy nonsense.
And it's also, you're kind of looking at a different profile too. I mean, Richardson we like for fantasy because of his ability, his physicality. But Stroud is making really smart decisions and looking like a real quarterback already. So yeah, I think he wins the rookie sweepstakes. Projected to be a lower scoring game, 42.5, and Pitt -2.5. We've been finding a way to win somehow. It's been ugly. I've talked about it. I'm not happy about it. But, we're still running the best defense in the league right now. And I think it definitely gives them some trouble. You could start Stroud if you need to. And I'm leaving their backfield alone. Pierce and Singletary both. I'm sitting down this week. Tank Dell, that is Stroud's guy. Apparently he actually made the request to get Tank Dell. So we know that connection is going to be there. We've seen it already, and I think it's going to continue. And somehow that little dude is getting it done. It is so funny to watch him out there amongst all these giants. I love it.
His name is Tank, which makes it easy.
Yeah, right?
Right? So you got to play him just because of that.
Flex Nico, but other than that, Pitt side of the ball. Pickett's been great for fantasy if you want to start him. Najee, I think, the front seven from Houston is you can run on them. Pickens worth a flex. Freiermuth is he's one of those tight ends you got to start. He gets all the looks in the red zone, and he's involved. He's going to get some action. Moving on, what do we got next?
Raiders, Chargers. Let's probably just knock these out a little bit quicker.
Yeah, we touched on those. Taking Chargers. That's going to be a high scoring affair. Arizona, San Francisco. We're talking San Francisco.
Yeah, that's
going to be St. Fran.
Don't even play anybody. If you have anyone on the Cardinals, just cut them now. I don't even care about that running back.
James Conner, man. I'm telling you, for fantasy, he's good. Man. Look at the numbers. You got to start Conner.
Nah, listen. As the season goes on, they're going to be behind way more, and they're just not going to – he's not going to touch the ball. That's just my 2 cents. I could be completely wrong, and it's fine by me. Patriots, Cowboys. This one's kind of interesting. 4 o'clock matchup, obviously. Bill Belichick is a defensive – I feel like he's a genius on that side of the ball, going against a Cowboys team that was just embarrassed by the Arizona Cardinals, so he's probably going to steal some of that stuff. But I'm picking Cowboys to bounce back and beat a team that just does not have a lot of dynamic weapons on the offensive side of the ball in the Patriots.
Yeah, I'm going to take them boys too. It's 43.5 over under, and Dallas by 6.5. Bill, I love old Bill, man. And, he's called a genius, but he runs the same formula all the time. He forces you to beat him without your best weapon. And it works. I mean, they've been the only ones that have been able to shut the Dolphins down so far. They held Tyreek to I think it was 60 yards or something, not much else on offense. Bill knows how to get it done. I'm not starting Mac. Throw Stevenson in there. He's going to get work. Elliott's probably worth a flex this week. Hold on. You think Stevenson's a play here against a team that's very, very stout against a run in the Cowboys? People have been able to run on him.
Really? Okay.
That's really the only thing, the only little avenue that we've seen so far. So I would say if you're starting anybody from New England, it's going to be a running back.
But
But
do you think they'll be able to move the ball enough to get to that, that red zone that he kind of seems to flourish in, where he gets those goal line carries and touchdowns? Or because that's my fear. I have him, so I've sat him for Williams of the Broncos, only because I'm afraid that if they're not going to have them many opportunities near the goal line with Mac throwing the ball against the Cowboys.
if you have a better option out there, yeah. But I mean, it's just one of those things where a lot of people, Stevenson was one of your first quarterbacks taken. He's probably going to be where you have the most capital at your running back spot. So, I think Stevenson does catch, some passes out of the backfield. Maybe if you're in a standard league, there might be somebody else out there that you could look that might be closer to the end zone. But yeah, I mean, other than that, I mean, Hunter Henry, maybe he could be a bailout option for Mac Jones. And he's in kind of that flea market category of tight ends. Dallas side of the ball, starting everybody. I think Jake Ferguson is also a good start. He might be a streamer for some of you out there that might be a little unsure about tight end this week. Jake's been getting the targets, and this is going to be a great game for him. I really think that Bill's going to probably scheme out Pollard, I would think, and try and put some press on CeeDee. So I think Jake Ferguson might be a sneaky start this week and show you some dividends.
Next matchup, Sunday Night Football. Supposed to be a great game before the season.
Why couldn't we get the Miami-Buffalo game?
Chiefs, Jets. Chiefs obviously favored. Jets don't have a quarterback. I predict by the second quarter they will somehow be playing Trevor Siemian, who just arrived in New York, I think, a day ago. So take that for what it's worth. I feel like don't play anybody on the Jets other than the dog at wide receiver, obviously, and play everybody on the Chiefs.
Wilson, wide receiver 2. I think you could start Breece Hall. I think his ceiling's real low. But, I mean, the workload is going to be there. It's going to be kind of similar to James Conner, where he's just going to get so much work. He will fill out a slot for you on your roster.
Like 8 points, yeah.
Maybe 12. You're probably looking at 12, 13 points.
Chiefs?
Yeah. So, Chiefs. Pacheco's probably going to be a good start this week, just because I think the Chiefs are going to get out to a lead, and I think Pacheco's just an easy way to chew up time. He's going to get the rock just to keep the clock rolling. Wide receivers, man, this is turning into just a dart throw every week. I mean, if you got one of them and you got no other option, I guess you could flex one of the receivers from Kansas City, but it's too hard to tell. Until somebody really emerges as an option, I really can't suggest anybody that receiver core. Obviously, Kelsey is the receiving core there. I think that's going to be the only fun thing to watch this week, to be honest, is watching Kelsey get sauced. And I don't know if Gardner's got the physical ability. I mean, the physical matchup, he's just not.
They're not capable. I think the Chiefs will try to match them up, and I think the Jets are going to try to not match them up because it's physically just impossible for that guy to cover to deal with Kelsey. It's not ideal. He's not a big safety. He's not built as a very big dude. He's kind of a smaller stature corner. Not to knock on him, obviously he's very, very good at what he does, but he's not guarding Kelsey. So I think Andy Reid's going to try to scheme it to where he's isolated out there with him because he does split wide a lot. He does also kind of sneak out on different routes from the tight end position and the H-back position. So it'll be fun to watch that, but he's going to end up destroying him, honestly. I don't see how this game is not just... And what's crazy is the Jets are actually a really good defensive unit. It's just they are. There's no way that you can hang when your team can't move the ball at all.
Yeah, it's they're running into the same thing that Pittsburgh is, where they're just their defense is on the field so much, and they get off the field. 45 seconds later they're back on the field. It's just too tough to keep the pedal to the floor the entire game. And this is a low point total here. What is it, 41.5, and they've got the Chiefs by 9.5. So I mean, that kind of tells you what they're expecting of the Jets.
Yeah. Last matchup of the week, Monday Night Football.
Dun, 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 dun.
It's a good one, I think, in my opinion. It'll be a good. I don't know, actually. Giants have shit the bed every single time I've said that, so who knows? Seahawks, Giants. Is this one in Seattle or is this one in New York?
This is in New York, which bodes well for them. Primetime game seems to do well. So the quarterback that seems to perpetually always look like he just smelled a fart, Daniel Jones, is probably going to be good for fantasy this week. I wouldn't start him if you have a better option, but Seattle's defense is definitely beatable. Saquon, if he plays, obviously he's always in. Anyone else? I mean, Darren Waller should have a good game this week. I've got him projected pretty high in my rankings. I'm praying. I mean, I've got Waller in my dynasty. I'm really waiting for this. During the preseason, we heard that they had to pull Waller off the practice field so Daniel Jones would throw to somebody else. And last week, he was throwing to him, but just could not get anything dialed in. It was like, I think like his first 7 targets were just uncatchable. I was ready to smash my TV.
I was loving it. I was facing him. It was awesome. I was laughing my ass off the entire time. I was like, this guy got nothing against me. It's awesome.
Yeah. But other than that, I'm not starting anybody. We're looking at 47 over-under on this game. I think I'm going under on this one. I don't know if Seattle is going to get out here and just crush. I definitely have Seattle winning this game. I think Geno is a good streamer this week. If you need a quarterback, Geno is going to get out here. He's been learning how to navigate this bad O-line. I think he probably got some tips from Pete because we watched Russell do it for so many years. Russell was able to deal with them not investing in any protection for so long that they've probably got like a book at the facility, like, here, this is how you deal with our O-line. Just
here's your
study
playbook,
up.
and here's your how to deal with our garbage O-line book. But
so Kenneth Walker.
What's that? I was going to say that. I'll let you finish what you're talking about the Seahawks because that kind of ends up leading us into our get them in.
Yeah. So Kenneth Walker is in. He's been great. DK Metcalf is going to be the junkyard dog here. There's nobody on this defense that can stop DK with his physicality. I think Lockett's going to be great this week. I think everybody except for Noah Fant hasn't really been seeing a lot, which has surprised me with the line that Noah Fant hasn't been utilized to kind of just give Geno a close option or a quick read. But and JSN. Until we start to see JSN getting schemed in the offense, I'm sitting him. So if you got JSN, try and find another option this week. I don't know why. Well, I guess I know why. When you have 2 great receivers, 2 top 30 receivers perennially, it's hard to get that third guy in there, especially when you're struggling to hold on to the ball so you can let the play develop. So
yeah, I'm with you on that one. Seahawks for sure. And that kind of leads into our next segment, our get 'em in segment, and let's do our which is basically our starts of the week for week 4. Tony at quarterback, you just talked him up. Your start of the week is Geno Smith. Why?
He's got options everywhere. I think that Geno puts up a good line this week. I don't think the Giants are going to stop him, even though they're at home. And like I said, he's finding a way to work with this O-line, and he's been getting better exponentially every week. So he's my start of the week this week.
So Latte's
what do you got?
So I'm going to give my starts of the week. My guys you got to get in.
Oh, right.
At quarterback.
Look at Sam.
This might be a little bit out of left field because I haven't really talked this guy up much all season, but I'm going Anthony Richardson, coming back from that concussion, going against a Rams team that's probably going to force this dude to run the ball a lot and kind of start looking at the pass rush. And you know what? That only plays into his strength set. So play him because he's going to get you yardage through the air, but more importantly, he's going to get you yardage on the ground. He's a physical specimen and very Jalen Hurts-like, but just more physically imposing.
Yeah,
so
stronger.
And he's got the same offensive coordinator, so the guy's going to scheme up ways to make sure he's creative and has a little bit of fun out there. It's like a backyard football game when you watch him play, but you're also still like, holy shit, this guy is a freaking dog when he comes
to
throwing the ball. Yeah, so That's my quarterback. Absolutely get him in for the week. Anthony Richardson, dude. I don't care if he's playing for the Colts. Play him. Play him this week. You will thank me. I promise. And then that leads us to our wide receivers. Wide receiver play of the week for you, Tone.
I
am Tone now, by the way. I'm cool with that.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
I hate doing it. I don't like doing it, but Amari Cooper is going to be my start of the week at wide receiver this week. He's just, again, one of these guys that's quietly been a top receiver year in, year out. I mean, Cooper doesn't get a whole lot of clout, but, man, he has been playing great. He's averaging 81 yards a game. And he's at a 68% catch rate despite Deshaun Watson being a bum. So, I mean, he's going to be there. He's always catching balls. I feel like he gets in the paint this week, so Amari Cooper is going to be my start.
All right. You talked up this guy's quarterback for me, and my wide receiver is DK Metcalf of the Seattle Seahawks. Dude, he's a physical monster when he's on the field. So just about against any team. But this week he's going against the Giants, who have nobody, like you touched on, absolutely nobody who's going to be able to stop him. I don't even think they'll be able to tackle this guy, considering the way that they're set up. So I'm absolutely going DK Metcalf. He's too physical. They depend on him for third down conversions. He's very much their possession Keyshawn Johnson type guy for the old school dudes. But he's got playmaking ability, and I could see him having, 100 yards, maybe 2 tutties, having a pretty good day. Pretty good day against the Giants.
That's kind of where I have him. I kind of have him right around, 90 to 100, and,
he gets his
2
nose
touchdowns
dirty.
is in the possibility. It all depends on just, it's one of those things, receivers get dropped in the red zone where they're probably going to Kenneth Walker, So, yeah, I'm just starting everybody, but I think you're getting a massive week out of Seattle here.
All right, we got our running backs up next. I don't know why we went quarterback, wide receiver, then running back, but running backs, Tony, who's your get him in at that position?
I mentioned it earlier. I'm going Javonte Williams. I think he's a great running back. We've seen it before. We saw it last year before he got hurt. He has the skill set, and he just hasn't been able to break out yet. This is a game against Chicago that Chicago's just been run all over. They're the 31st team against the running back. There's no way that he doesn't do something this week. I just feel like we're finally going to get to see Javonte Williams be the running back we'd all hoped. Now, if that continues, I don't know. Denver is just so up in the air week to week. So he might be matchup based, just based on how the team can scheme him in. But I'm loving Javonte this week.
This is the first time I'm starting him this week, so you better be right. All right, and I did this on my own gut feeling. I'm glad I didn't play him last week. Wouldn't have mattered who I played last week at running back, so I was kind of stressing for no reason.
I'm glad to hear, though. I mean, I would have, if I had your roster, I would have thrown him in over Stevenson this week, even though I would start Stevenson if I had to. I think Javonte is the better play. So good job, Sammer.
That's exactly what I did, man.
You didn't even call me at 5 a.m. to ask me.
I got to figure it out, dude. I'm like, what? My gut is telling me this dude's going to have a day. Who my guy would be this week at running back? It's we mentioned him earlier, and I called him their Dalvin Cook, but the Buffalo Bills, James Cook.
Yeah.
Get me that guy all day in a game that's going to go up and down the field. It's going to be a barn burner. And he leads the team in targets and touches, which is saying a lot considering they have a guy like Gabe Davis and they got a guy like Stephon Diggs. Gabe Davis, by the way, secretly, quietly having a hell of a season, right? On my bench, by the way, because I can't play him and Diggs. But, these are the problems that these, undefeated fantasy football owners have to deal with sometimes. Anyway, I would absolutely play Cook in this game. Not only is he going to get opportunities in the run game, but I could see him being the guy on screen passes and some gadget plays. Maybe
he's everywhere.
Some bailout passes for Josh Allen to keep Josh Allen honest and kind of calm down a little bit. But when he touches the ball, he's electric, and he's very, very good. Does that little choppy run that him and his brother do? Yeah, he's faster than his brother Dalvin. But that's definitely a guy I'm hammered down. I wish I had him on my team, honestly, because I would love to play him and Williams this week. I'm probably getting like 40 points out of the two of them together, right?
Oh yeah, I'm glad to see it too, because you always think when you see this family affair, you see the brother or the cousin or something come into the league, it's like, man, how much of the his name carrying chalk got him there.
Yeah.
You just hope that they can perform the same, and James is really coming into his own now, and he's on a great offense, don't get me wrong, but he's looking really good. I mean, he's forcing missed tackles. Yeah, I mean that's why he was so highly touted in draft season. We saw the opportunity. We see the offense. The offense has been competing for a Super Bowl every year, even though they've been off to a little bit of a rough start. Come on, Josh.
That's probably been the problem with them, is they peak at the wrong time. This is the first time that they're peaking. Maybe they're going to peak at the right time. Bengals seem to kind of start slow. Them and the Bengals are the two teams that I'm just like, I am not worried about these guys. When it comes time and it gets, in that November area around Thanksgiving, these guys will be clicking. They'll be ready. They're going to roll into the playoffs, and we're going to get some fantastic matchups between them, the Chiefs, the Dolphins, the Bills, the freaking Bengals. I mean, the Browns now, who have a defense that probably stop any one of those offenses. And I mean, it's going to be fun, dude. And maybe the Steelers, who knows? Somehow they always become relevant at the end of the season, no matter what. Tomlin knows how to get his guys to play.
How to win. And I love him for that. Everybody's talked about it forever, that he's never had a losing season. We've come close a couple times
last year,
but last year, especially last year. Last year was the year.
Helps. The 17 games helps him.
Yeah,
right?
Squeaked it out there at the end.
Gives them that odd standard. But even if you had a 8-8 season, it still would have been a non-losing
And again,
season.
we were talking about the family affair. That was one thing, seeing TJ come in and we picked him up. I was like, okay, well, is he coming with the same pedigree as JJ?
Might be better.
And he is amazing, and just the biggest. He's the most talented person on our team right now by far.
He's the only guy who showed up against the 49ers for you guys. I watched that game later on. Like a couple days later, I got bored. I watched that game. I was like, God damn, they got destroyed, but it didn't look like that, because you're watching this guy strip sack, fumble, and you're like, how did they lose with him going off
week out? I even heard, and one thing that I really love is the camaraderie and the bond that him and JJ have. I forget whether it was I was listening to McAfee or something, and he was talking about how during the game JJ sits there and literally analyzes TJ and what he's doing, and so he doesn't forget, just sends it. He'll end the game and go check his phone, and TJ's like, oh my God, JJ sent me 50 texts during this game, just analyzing his play and telling him like, hey, watch this, maybe you jump this gap. So he's like got this first ballot Hall of Famer mentor that's breaking down every game that he plays and helping him out. It's almost like cheating. It's like having a game shark. I love it.
I think he's going to end up being better than JJ. I think he is already better than JJ in his prime. So
just stay healthy, man.
Yeah, that's weird that they kind of both struggle a little bit with that, right? But I think that's just might be something happening across the board in the league. I don't think they take care of their bodies more, but they don't get beat up as often. So when they do get hit, it seems to it causes more injury, if that makes sense. You're not getting as much exposure to hits. Speaking of exposure to hits, tight ends. Who's your get him in of the week here, tight end, Tone? It's not a very glorious position.
This one's a little rough to chew, but Evan Ingram. I'm gonna say Evan Ingram is my start of the week at tight end. Jacksonville, like we said, has been a little hindered. They've had a hard time. Trevor Lawrence has really struggled, but Evan Ingram is quietly, I believe he's the number 5 tight end this year. Hasn't scored yet. I think that could possibly change this week, but he's getting the yardage.
They're in London. You made a great fucking pick. They're in London. I told you. That's where they ball. I mean, they had that joke of a coach a couple years ago, that Ohio State loser, Urban Meyer, and they won a game. I believe they won their first game for him in London, or they got embarrassed. I can't remember which one it was, but nonetheless, they love London.
They have been so good in London. I don't know if you remember this, but
I'm telling you this.
They almost got Big Ben to quit mid-season.
Oh yeah,
there was a plane ride back, and that was the game. I want to say that Blake Bortles scored 6 touchdowns on Pittsburgh.
Yeah, see,
in London,
away from home, dude.
And Ben said, "I'm done." and came back, cooled off a bit, and came back next week. And I want to say Ben came out and threw like 5 touchdowns the next week. I think that was the year where he had back-to-back huge weeks. But yeah, they have that stigma about London. So I'll take the fairy tale part of it too.
Hell yeah, dude! I'm telling you. You know who my
Who
guy
you
is?
got?
This guy on my roster who I've been starting all year long, and I believe I could probably put him in this position for the rest of the season if I would ever do these picks with you guys. And it would be TJ Hawkinson, dude. Minnesota is using him everywhere. He's like, what, 82% catch radius as a tight end in the NFL?
Yeah.
And you've got guys like JJ and Addison on this team already that are kind of taking, looks away from him. And I mean, 28 targets. This is the guy to play, man. Every single week, there's no reason to sit him unless Kirk Cousins is not playing quarterback. You can't go wrong. Can't go wrong.
You cannot sit a tight end that is getting almost 30 looks in 3 games. That is an insane amount of targets for a tight end, and he has been great. You mentioned the catch rate. I mean, he's catching almost everything. Had he not dropped the touchdown, or had there not been that issue at the goal line last week, he would have been all over the highlights in the news. Yeah, he's just every week right now. He's a must start.
He's facing a Carolina defense.
Got a great tight end there, buddy.
He's going against a Carolina defense too. That's I believe not that great against tight ends so far in 2023. Which
not that great against much.
Yeah, so definitely got to play that guy. Listen, Tone. It's been fucking fun. It's week 4.
Take us out of here, brother.
I mean, listen, again, you guys, make sure you hit the like button, the subscribe button. If you're new, leave us a comment. Let us know if you have any fantasy questions you need us to answer. Probably not going to get much from me, but I'm going to let Tone, the brains, do a lot of that. But say something. I use Tony every single week for my fantasy team. Some people consider it cheating. I do not. I think it's fair game. I happen to know somebody who knows a lot of shit, so I'm going to lean on him. So you guys, I implore you to do the same. Again, thank you for watching, and go Jags.
Let's go, T-Law.
Bouncing out, Big Tuddies.
Oh.